There's countless ways to destroy an atomist, a nihilist scientist, and by scientist, I don't really mean a real scientist, because modern scientists are not scientists at all. What they are mathematicians, and specifically, they're atomists. And I first have to tell a really brief story before I talk about this. It's about getting inside someone's strike zone. All these academic fools that are egotistical, hubristic. That's a great word, hubristic. They literally sniff their own excretions, and they're really, really easy to destroy in a debate. And if you can't debate something very good, that means you don't have a very firm grasp of it. And it's okay not to know stuff, but when you think you know stuff, you never go seeking the answers to things you think you know. So anyway, about getting inside someone's striking distance. Now, I never watched fights in my life, but apparently there's a famous one by this big brute of a guy with like giant meat fists, and he literally beat the daylights out of anybody. But he was fighting a thinner martial arts guy who was world famous martial artist. He destroyed anybody with his martial kung fu. And the way he did that is that anybody that got within his strike zone, he would eliminate them. So there's a famous, I think it's like mixed martial arts fight, or like a boxing, because I never watch fight stuff. The point being is that like the best kung fu guy in the world, or nearly so, gets in the ring with this huge hulking brute. It's just, it's just two big meat cleavers for. So the martial arts guy beat the hell out of this guy over and over again, and but he's a big clod of a person, but he had an insight. The big guy did, and what he did is he got within and beyond the striking zone of the martial artist. He got within his circle. The martial artist, with all his great expertise, could only take someone out if they were in his strike zone of his kung fu. But when this big brute got in with his giant fists to this karate guy inside the sphere of his strike zone, then he became as helpless as a skinny, sickly, anorexic girl. Helpless. And so the guy with the big meat cleavers for fists, eliminated, didn't kill, eliminated, destroyed them in the fight. Scientists are exactly like this, and like I said, by scientists, I'm not talking about real scientists. What I'm referring to are mathematicians. They can't explain the fundamental principles of cosmic mechanics. They don't know how light works. They don't know what light is. If you ask them to explain how light speeds back up after it leaves a medium like glass or water, without breaking the law of conservation of energy, they don't have the answer. They never defined a field. And the way you destroy them, because there's only ever been two foundations of reality that have ever been put forward. One is based in atomism, the belief that the universe, Mother Nature's a crazy chick with a bag of bumping particles. And the other foundation of the universe is one of ether. There have only ever been those two postulated throughout all of human history. The ether and bumping particles. And every scientist out there is not a scientist or a mathematician. They only believe in bumping particle interactions. That's all there is to them. They think light is a particle, the photon. They think there's a charge-carrying particle. And they can't explain wireless power induction in a vacuum. Just ask the scientist, well, what is energy transfer is movement of electrons? Yes, this is correct. It's like, well, how does wireless power induction in a vacuum work? Well, it's fields. But you never define a field. There's no branch of science that's ever defined a field in itself, of itself, by itself. Well. And these are the same people. This is not my words. This is their words. Will tell you that a magnetic field is the flow, their own words, by the way, the flow of virtual photons, virtual particles. Now, these are purely conceptual fabrications within the minds of these mathematicians. They're not the inputs or outputs of any experiment ever done. No, absolutely not. They exist in no way, shape, or form except conceptually. It's a complete farce. It's nonsensical. When you actually eliminate out the ether, what you replace it with necessitatively, to talk about interactions and causation and cause and effect, you have to replace it with particle interactions, bumping particles. When you replace the ether, you must replace this. But the nonsensical model particleism, or atomism specifically, as it is correctly called. And the Greeks destroyed this many thousands of years ago. Greek atomists, and who knows how many epochs before them. It's easy to destroy these people because you can never explain cause. You can never explain instantaneous action at a distance. You can never explain light. Light is not an emission. Light doesn't move from point A to point B. Light doesn't have a speed. It's a rate of induction. It's not a wave, and it's not a particle. A wave is not even a thing anyway. A wave is what something does. Look, this is a wave. Look, a wave of what? I love saying that when people talk about waves. I say, wave of what? Well, I say, well, it's waves of electromagnetism. Oh, we're talking about fields now. See, this is actually how one of the countless ways you can destroy them. So, well, they love, scientists love to talk about waves. You say, well, waves of what? Well, waves of energy. Well, there's no branch of science that's ever defined energy. Not energy of itself by itself. They've never defined energy. Well, it's a field. Waves of electromagnetic energy. Waves of what? Oh, we're talking about fields now, are we? Oh, okay. We've moved from waves to fields, but no branch of science has ever defined a field. The four Maxwellian field equations only define a field with a vector over a period of time with a given result, like joules, watts, amps, volts, so on and so forth. But they've never defined a field. No, they have not. No, they have not. Getting inside the strike zone, if you will, of these idiot scientists, these pseudo-intellectual troglodytic Luddites, these mental midgets of mathematics. Mathematics is about counting things. They love to count stuff. And they also love to describe things. They love to describe what they observe. But descriptions are for fools. Explanations are for the wise. They're also, too, the domain of the wise. And so you could go on and on about the countless ways you could destroy these people in a discussion or a debate. And I don't begrudge anybody, like I said, for not knowing the answers to things. It's okay not to know. But what you don't understand is that when people tell everybody that they know, and they don't know, and they really do believe that they do know, but they're just regurgitating the crap that they were taught. No one has ever gone looking for the answer to something which they think and tell others and themselves believe that they know. No one has ever gone looking for their nose, unless they were drunk, right? No one's ever gone looking for their nose because they know where it is. Well, I know where my nose is. Why would I ever think about looking for my... These scientists are the exact same way. They have never gone looking for the answers to the things that they already fallaciously and egotistically assume that they know the answers to. And they don't know the answer. And like I said, that is okay. But these people are really easy to destroy, just like that big fat guy with the meat cleavers, meat cleaver fists, got within the strike zone. Eliminating these people in a debate is abundantly easy. It's kind of like, and there are famous examples of this, where like a burglar found this house and it had like a steel door with like this really elaborate lock system, and but the window was open. Scientists have never, by science, I mean modern science, they've never defined the term energy. No, they never have. I don't care if you don't believe me. They have never defined energy. They've never defined what a field is. They can't explain instantaneous action at a distance. They have no... And by the way, their entire system is based upon, by their own admission, based upon their understanding of what light is and how it works. But they don't know what light is, and they don't know how it works. They think it's a particle and a wave-particle duality, but there are no dualities in nature because duality implies inherent contradiction. And Mother Nature does not deal in dualities. Light doesn't move from point A to point B. Light is not an emission. It's not a particle. It's not a wave. It's not a wave-particle duality. It also doesn't have a speed. Now we know about the speed of sound, but sound doesn't actually have a speed. It's a rate of induction. When someone creates sound, it is a perturbation in the air. Yeah? We all have heard throughout our entire lives, speed of sound, break the speed of sound. But sound is not a speed. It's the rate of induction of the movement of the nitrogen and oxygen molecules in the air. Sound does not move or is emitted. It is a perturbation of the air. Light is exactly like sound. Light does not move. It does not have a speed. It's a rate of induction of the coaxial circuit of what light is, which is an ether perturbation modality. Specifically, that ether perturbation modality is coaxial, transverse electrical magnetic, whether that be circular or a circular longitudinal propagation on the electromagnetic of the transverse, and longitudinal rarefactions and compressions of the dielectric. The rarefactions and compressions are actually where the photon nonsense came up from. Like if you actually take a rubber band and stretch it and then bring it close together, it'll actually create this bundle, if you will, in the rarefactions and compressions. Those compressions of spatial and counterspatial in the longitudinal coaxial circuit of light is what is mistaken for as the photon. You know, and there's no virtual photons, as these idiots believe, being emitted from magnets. A magnet is not emitting virtual you think I'm making this up, but this is their own words. Magnets emit virtual photons. It is a conceptual abstraction with no basis in reality. It's not the output of any experiment. It has no basis in reality at all. It's no different than if someone were to say, well, magnets work by emitting microscopic unicorns that interact with other magnetic fields, and these unicorns interact. We can't see them, but that's what it is. These little unicorns. That's exactly what these idiot scientists... Don't take my word for it. Just Google virtual particles or virtual photons. Type in, actually, in a Google search bar, type in magnetism, and then type in right beside it virtual photons or virtual particles. Used interchangeably by the scientific community. These are the people that we've given PhDs to teach our children in college. They actually spread this mind virus, which is nothing better than a freaking religion. It's a sicko belief system. It's a belief system in the atom. All hail the bumping particle. Lord and Savior, bumping particle. Everything is a part of... You couldn't make this up. Humanity is not that evolved. Not yet, anyway. Unless it destroys itself, it may not ever become that evolved. Stuff doesn't work. Mother Nature doesn't work like that either. Have a happy weekend. Bye.